Josh has been threatened and verbally abused by fellow inmates while he awaits his CP sentencing. Josh, 34, has been in Washington County Jail in Arkansas since he was found guilty of possessing and receiving CP on December 9. He will remain there until his sentencing for the crimes on May 25, as he will then be transferred to federal prison. The Sun can exclusively reveal Josh has been threatened and verbally abused in jail, as loved ones have sent letters to the judge begging for a lenient sentence. Josh and Anna's neighbor Nicole Burris gave insight into Josh's prison experience in her letter to the judge. While at Anna's home, Josh called and devastatingly shared that there was a man who was verbally threatening. He became involved in church every time he passed his cell. He had solitary confinement. That man passed from COVID just 6 weeks afterward, but his family was left with the knowledge that they will see him again one day in heaven, and that is because of Joshua. She also explained how Anna went to church with a woman whose husband was in jail. The letter continued. Joshua had been speaking with her imprisoned husband that week, and he had connected this woman with Anna and our church, even from his jail cell. Josh continues to be engaged in ministry to others, even while locked up, even when everything has been taken away. Neighbor Timothy Burris also wrote a letter to the judge and gave insight into Josh's new life behind bars and new creation. The letter read, Josh spends his days now leading men's Bible studies in prison twice each day and a nightly prayer call with numerous other inmates. I have spoken to him since his incarceration. His current behavior does, absolutely, represent the character of the man that I have come to know as a friend. He is a father of 7, a loving husband, an outgoing friend to all, an outspoken Christian, a man who is always willing to help out others and extend to them a second chance and a life of purpose, even if it costs him everything. Please show compassion on Joshua Duggar as you determine your sentence, Sun previously reported. Wife Anna, 33, and mother Michelle, 55, were the only immediate family members to write letters to the judge. Josh's father Jim Bob and siblings snubbed him despite many attending the trial in support of their fallen family member. Despite the snub, Josh's leak, "My children and I rely on Joshua for financial, emotional, and physical support. Many others depend on Joshua, too. Joshua is a man who frequently volunteers his time, services, and resources, striving to contribute to our community and people in need." Then recalled how her husband interacts with homeless people, financially supports his late friend's widow, hires people in need at his car lot and more. Anna ended her letter with, "Joshua is surrounded by people who will encourage him to continue to become the best man, father, and employer he can be. I ask that you consider reuniting us as a family again soon. I understand the seriousness of this matter, however, I respectfully ask that you take this letter into consideration when determining a fair sentence." Mom Michelle said in her letter that Josh has friends and family who love and support him in his abilities to succeed as a husband, father, and business owner, and man both now and in the future. She said her son has a tender heart and is compassionate towards others. Her letter continued, "Joshua is a loving and patient man, striving to be a blessing and provide for his family. He has also spent quality time with his wife and children learning life skills together and going on family." However, in determining the appropriate sentence in this case, Duggar asks this court to recognize him for the person he is and the person he can become. The document continued, "Prior to this case, Duggar had never been charged with, let alone convicted of, a single criminal offense throughout his entire life." The government wrote in the sentencing memoriam, "In consideration of the extraordinary efforts Duggar took to obtain and view CP material, CSAM, the nature of the CSAM he obtained and viewed, his efforts to conceal his criminal conduct, and his refusal to take accountability for or acknowledge any of his criminal Some of the victims depicted in the CSAM he downloaded and possessed, like the victim described above, have been identified and rescued. Others have not, and the pain and trauma they have experienced as a result of Duggar's conduct will go unvoiced at the sentencing hearing." Government also brought up when Josh accosted minor females in the family home when he was a teenager. The court papers claimed, "This court is now presented with an offender who has a history of sexually abusing minors, who has not received any treatment or therapy for this conduct to speak of, who appears unlikely to ever seek out or meaningfully participate in treatment or therapy to address this conduct, and who can. Brooks will decide on the exact number of years based on a range determined by the federal sentencing table that factors in criminal history, age of victims involved in the CP material, number of images and more. Josh's legal team filed a motion for an acquittal of the guilty verdict, a new trial, or the dismissal of the possession of CP charge. A judge has not ruled on the appeal. Josh has maintained his innocence. Josh was arrested and charged with possessing and receiving CP in April 2021. The highly publicized jury trial lasted 2 weeks before the jury submitted a guilty verdict on both counts. At trial, prosecutors presented damning evidence from Josh's HP computer. Prosecutor William Clayman provided alleged texts and photos were taken on Josh's phone at the car lot to show he was there at the same time CP content was downloaded at wholesale motor cars. When the verdict was read, the counting on alum was immediately handcuffed and taken into custody at Washington County Jail. If you or someone you know is affected by any of the issues raised in this story, call RAIN at 800-656-HOPE 4673.